The earth, riches, and wisdom. So we have, even right there...
What's his name?
This is an emergency transmission from FEMA Region 6 in occupied North America.
There is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the info war. If major escalations in the ongoing Crimean war intensify Saturday, I will come in and do an emergency live report over the audio and video streams on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, and stations will be welcome to tune to our internet feed or to play any clips on their news if they want our analysis. And I'll be live with the main radio show this Sunday in studio, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we're going to be here for 3 hours today. You know, I feel bad for Kevin Sorbo and the director of a new film that were scheduled to be on the show today. We're having to move them because obviously this could trigger a much larger war. And this mirrors the things that brought us into conflicts like World War I and World War II. And we've been talking the last few years about the buildup towards a world war. And the Rand Corporation basically called for one 3 years ago to bring in the world government. Most mainline historians, every week there's international headlines about the world lining up for a new world war, and that being in the air, and this being the season. The season, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the season of love. It is the season of global crises to destroy the old systems and on the ashes of it, build a planetary tyranny. Paul Watson is joining us coming up the next segment with analysis. Obama and neocons get ball rolling on World War III. Video, did Ukraine fabricate evidence to frame Russia for MH17 shootdown, killing over 300 people? Was flight MH17 diverted over restricted airspace? Asked Zero Hedge. Was the shootdown of the passenger jet over Ukraine a false flag? Obama visits burger joint after Malaysian Airlines jet shot down, says he's starving. Pentagon official says Russians likely responsible for shooting down Malaysian plane. And yes, it takes a more powerful missile, but dozens and dozens of countries have missiles that go above 33,000 feet. It was the MPADs, around 15,000 of them that only go up to about 15,000 feet, that Al-Qaeda's been given. They're perfect for shooting down passenger liners as they come in to cities or go out of cities. Most aircraft don't get above 10,000 feet before they even get out of a city. Or you can just sit out a mile from the airport and the plane's at 3,000 feet and blow it out of the air. In fact, that's what you want to do, because then it doesn't have time to recover if one of its engines gets blown. If they're up higher, sometimes they can recover and land from just one missile. The point is that NATO has been caught staging false flags in Syria. Sy Hersh has come out and talked about how that was clearly staged as well months after we documented it, but he's very respected, two-time Pulitzer Prize winner. So my issue is this could be a false flag. The way the Russians are acting, though, and putting out disinformation and things, makes me begin to lead towards something even more complex. Now, again, mainstream media wants to dominate speculation. Everybody loves a good mystery, especially if it could cause World War III. They've got articles in the Daily Mail. They've got articles in the Boston Globe. They've got them everywhere criticizing myself and others for simply saying who could be behind this. That's heresy to have your own speculation. You're supposed to just listen to them and listen to them speculate. But when I come back, I'm going to tell you where the evidence is leaning right now, in my view.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. Celebrate the spirit of 1776 with the George Washington brass belt buckle or this incredibly sharp-looking 1776 hat. Badass. And be sure to check out the new arrivals at InfoWars Life, where you can prepare your body to perform at peak levels with Survival Shield, Nascent Iodine, Super Male Vitality, and Fluoride Shield. And wake up, America. Immune Support Blend is the healthy choice for the gourmet coffee lover. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
The news is so hardcore and so over the top that you'll need to be watching Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com over the weekend for continued breaking video and text reports detailing what's happening worldwide, from Gaza to Ukraine and the Crimea, right through the rest of the Middle East, financially here in the U.S. and worldwide. The globalists are triggering and moving on all fronts right now. And this swarm effect is only engaged in before major world wars begin. And that's why every major historian worth their salt, the vast majority, are in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, London Guardian, Financial Times of London, this broadcast, Drudge Report, everywhere. Analysts are saying major global crises, major war, major currency collapse, major. And we've been telling you this for the last few years, and you can feel the buildup right now. I've got goosebumps on my face right now. I'm getting chills right now when I get up here and talk about how grave and how dire the situation is. And I'm not being melodramatic. If we don't get upset about all this right now, if we don't get concerned about this and really get involved and try to de-escalate things, the globalists are going to flog this into a war. Now, here's what I know about MH17, the Malaysian airliner that blew up right after 1400 GMT, 50 miles from the Russian border over Crimea. Here's what I know. The globalists stand to gain from all of this. It comes on the cusp of Israel completely destroying Gaza. Israel, 14 minutes. In fact, I have an article right here. I noticed this morning. I went and looked it up, and others had pointed it out. 14 minutes after the plane had been hit by the missile, right as it was breaking in the news, Israel was lined up and launched a giant offensive into Gaza. Coincidence? And no, I'm not saying Israel was involved. I'm saying they were given word by NATO and others as their offensive lined up, wait. Because it becomes a big distraction from what's happening there. And more importantly, from what ISIS is doing, advancing all over the Middle East, in Africa, in Iraq, in Syria, with Western forces, special forces confirmed, even London Guardian reports, in there with them right now, with medium weapons and high-tech weapons like Stinger missiles that bring down aircraft. So what I know is this. This is extremely fortuitous and comes right at the perfect time for the globalist. John McCain has come out in just hyper extreme rhetoric and said that there'll be hell to pay for the Russians. That's a U.S. senator on the Defense Committee talking like a third world dictator, trying to escalate the war rhetoric. Putin has blamed Ukraine for loss of flight MH17 with 298 innocent souls, but doesn't deny Russian separatists shot it down with missile. As McCain warns, there will be hell to pay. Also, you had the bizarreness that it's the same make and model of the other missing Malaysian plane. Yeah, that's really weird. Around 100 attendees heading to Australian AIDS conference among victims of downed Malaysian airline flight. We're looking into this top AIDS conference, and I've seen intel that they were looking at AIDS being man-made, which Nobel laureates have already come out and said. A bioweapon, a race-specific bioweapon developed for South Africa. Who we know was working on it. That's declassified. They just didn't call it AIDS. Look it up. That's mainstream Times of London from the 80s that South Africa got caught working on autoimmune viruses that target Africans. By the way, it's very hard for Northern Europeans to get AIDS. They don't have the receptor sites in their T lymphocytes. They can still get it if they've destroyed their immune system, but it is designed to whack black people. So this is and again, if the New York Times or the Daily Mail or the Boston Globe, who've all got articles going, look at the conspiracy theorist saying it's a false flag, and then quoting me yesterday saying, we'll look at it and see if it's a false flag, I don't know. Listen, that is the dinosaur media attempting to say they have a monopoly on speculation when no one knows, except whoever did this, exactly who's behind it. And I said yesterday it could be the Russians, it could be the separatists, it could be a friendly fire. That happens in war. But you look at everything else happening and everything else going on, and who launched the war in Ukraine months ago? George Soros, the State Department, have all bragged they did it. $5 billion, overthrowing the government, the elected government, putting in new people, trying to start a war with Russia. The globalists are on the offensive. They're the ones turning Al-Qaeda and ISIS loose. They're the ones overthrowing Libya and all these other countries and invading Iraq. They're the ones handing out the heat-seeking missiles. They're the ones coming after our guns with executive orders. They're the ones training for gun confiscation and buying thousands of armored vehicles and no hesitation sites, targets of little kids and women. They're the ones with Obama announcing Monday. They're preparing the EAS alert takeover system to take over the whole media, and the internet kill switch is now operable. That was announced on Monday. And I said, folks, they don't announce it unless they're thinking about using it. And I got chills on Monday. I used to get chills maybe once a year talking about something. I'm getting them every minute now. I mean, again, my instincts and my intellectual understanding is just burning with, we're all in danger. My children are in danger. Your children are in danger. The culture is in danger. Society is in danger. The globalists have the hardened bunkers. They have the COG, continuity of government. They believe a world government will bring them into total power. They want a crisis to end the status quo of due process and freedom. Paul Watson's coming up for the balance of the hour after the break, but here's what I said yesterday, and Zero Hedge is reporting on it today, this morning, and then CBS News and the San Francisco Chronicle and others came out in just the last hour and acted like rational human beings. And, of course, maybe they'll have the New York Times call them conspiracy theorists because they ask real questions. They'll call it a theory. No, there's no theory that this is a war zone. There's no theory that it's a provocation, and we're sad that 302 people or whatever, it was 298, now it's 300 and something are dead. But do you want that to be the pretext of a war that could kill millions or billions? The Russians have no motive to want to shoot down a third-party 777 jumbo jet. The globalists stand to gain. So I look at this, and then I see this headline, Zero Hedge, Infowars.com. We can put the graphic up on screen for TV viewers. It's up on Infowars.com. Was flight MH17 diverted over restricted airspace? I love how they call Zero Hedge that are run by insider billionaire folks who will not go named in Wall Street, who don't like the New World Order and who don't like nuclear war. They said that early this morning at about 4 a.m. when I woke up. That article was out on Infowars.com because Watson's 6 hours ahead in England had already posted it. They said it. Then hours later, Captain Schollenberger, big question, CBS News, is why plane was flying over war zone and why the European FAA's over there as well, and why the EU air traffic system didn't announce months ago a warning and a no-fly through that Crimea corridor. Now, we're being attacked and Zero Hedge is being attacked. I've got articles right here already today saying that we claim they flew it over a war zone. No, we didn't claim jack squat. And the controlled corporate press, the state-run media, doesn't control reality anymore like Karl Rove bragged you did back in 2005 in the New York Times. Okay, that is a war zone. The plane flew over an area where they have been restricting flights in Ukraine and not letting them fly over it. They were supposed to fly 60 miles to the south. And instead, they flew right over the war zone. They were directed by Ukrainian air traffic control to fly over that. And again, I don't have a dog in this fight. I care about the Catholic Ukrainians in the West and who've got real beefs with Russia. I care about the Russian Slavic Ukrainians in the East who've got real beefs with what the Western Ukrainians did with the Nazis. It's tribal warfare crud. And I don't want it to cause World War III for a bunch of globalists. So that's the bottom line. It's a war zone. It's a casualty of war. Collateral damage.
Hello, this is Hank Hill, and I'm telling you what, you need to listen to Alex Jones.
Yeah. Infowars.com.
My judge, what is the secret of the universe?
Infowars.com.
Coming up in the next segment, we're going to go over some of the articles where it was admitted a month ago that no one was supposed to fly over that airspace because it was a registered war zone in Europe. So actually, Europe had said do not fly over that area. No one had been flying over that area. There were scores of flights just that day that were routed around that. Only that flight was sent into the war zone. Now, continuing, ladies and gentlemen, with the information that we're breaking down, no one stands to gain from this but the globalist. It is entirely possible that Russian-backed rebels who have been given the SAM-type missiles that can shoot down high-flying aircraft mistakened it and did shoot it down. That could be true. The issue here is that they, within minutes of the plane being shot down, it was already being announced by members of the State Department and their alumni like Strobe Talbot and Hillary Clinton and others that Russia was clearly behind it and that the rebels had done it. And look, here's a tweet they deleted. These are famous liars. So I don't, by default, just believe whatever they say. Here is Boston.com, the Boston Globe, the weirdest conspiracy theories surrounding the Malaysian Airlines flight MH17. And they mix legitimate questioning of, is it a false flag? Did the Russians do it? Is it connected to the other missing Malaysian flight? Is it connected to the AIDS scientist? That's what you do. That's what police do in an investigation. When they come to a murder scene, they start looking and speculating and wargaming info. That's normal investigation. That's normal thought process. And they say, no, that's unkosher. That's insane. You're nuts. Alex Jones, look what people say on his website. And they show people in the comment section saying things and imply I said it. So again, that's the attempt to control reality. Look at drudgereport.com. It has an image right now of Vladimir Putin on it, and it says, who shot it down? That's a normal question to ask, and that's what you should be asking. Well, only the Boston Globe, only the New York Times can ask who shot it down. And it is a link to the New York Times. See, Drudge is so smart, he knows at first, dare not even question who shot it down, because only, again, mainstream media is proper and kosher and acceptable or bona fide to, and I'm being a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, but the point is, the New York Times is allowed to say who shot it down, but we said yesterday, who shot it down? Let's look at different angles of it. That's not allowed, according to the Daily Mail, and according to the Boston Globe, and according to a bunch of other publications, Time Magazine, you name it. There are people all over radio right now today. I'm getting the emails and the clips are being sent to us saying that I said the U.S. government did this, or I said NATO did this, when all I said is NATO stands to gain from this. And they're known liars who staged false flags and who staged chemical attacks this year and last year with Saudi Arabia against Syria to then blame Assad. They even attacked Assad's own people, but still tried to blame it on Assad. And I'm not lionizing Assad. Assad didn't do it. And it came out even in the BBC, and the Turkish papers had to admit that it was staged. So if they will stage chemical attacks killing hundreds, would they do this? Or do stuff like put a transponder coating in on the Malaysian aircraft, designate it in that airspace as a Ukrainian military aircraft, or undessignated it as a civilian aircraft, so the Russians would then say, okay, they've been using bombers to bomb people, killing thousands in the last few weeks. That's the Ukrainian government's own statement. The Russians said they'd strike back, so maybe they coded it. The Ukrainians or NATO, who control the air traffic control in that area, maybe they coded it as a Ukrainian or NATO bomber, and the Russians shot it down. That's classic false flag, folks. You go commit atrocity, blame somebody else, or you mark your ship like another country and then have it attacked to then bring another country into the war. This is what governments do. This is how they operate. This is what they've done for thousands of years, and I'm simply saying, if we have known governments that do this more than anybody I've ever heard of, should we look at it as a false flag? Paul Watson's coming up. David Knight in studio to give us his breakdown straight ahead. But this is a big deal. This only hurts the Russians and only hurts Putin. And I'm not siding with the Russians or siding with them. I'm simply trying to stop World War III. Alex Jones here for Infowars.com. We're going to be intensifying our efforts to awaken free humanity to the scourge of the globalist in the month of July. And starting this July 4th, we are going to slash prices in a celebration of true Americana, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence on all of the Made in America products that you will find at madein1776.com or InfoWarsStore.com. We're talking about Made in America belt buckles in brass and nickeled brass that state it loud and proud. Molon Labe. That's why we have the best-selling Made in America men's and women's Molon Labe Infowars.com shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a win-win. You vote with your dollars. You support the most hardcore organization out there for promoting true ideas of libertarianism, constitutionalism, basic human empowerment. But more importantly, you get T-shirts and belt buckles so you can meet like-minded people. So you have a conversation starter with friends and family and coworkers. We are reaching out to each other. And you also throw it in the face of the anti-gunners and the rest of the parasites out there that you're a free man and woman, and that you're not going to be a slave, that you're not going to be intimidated to shut up by their tyranny that they call political correctness. That's why in the month of July, we have got giant specials on everything at madein1776.com. But to expand the InfoWar, we're offering the biggest special in the history, 13 years of PrisonPlanet.tv, our multimedia platform. We're offering the equivalent of more than 5 months free right now when you get a membership at PrisonPlanet.tv, and you get 11 memberships that can be used with the same username and passcode so you can share it with friends and family. Now is the time to fund the war bonds. Now is the time to fund the InfoWar. Now is the time to get aggressive. Now is the time to double down. Now is the time to realize you are the people that made the InfoWar so successful and one of the leading lights worldwide against tyranny. You don't stand behind us, you stand right beside us, and I salute all of you on this July 4th, 2014, and going forward in the month of July and onward. This is about freedom worldwide and that desire for human dignity and self-determination that beats in the human breast. We are brothers and sisters together in the true spirit of liberty and the animating contest of liberty. And so I quote in closing the great Thomas Jefferson that I have sworn on the altar of God resistance against every form of tyranny. And never forget, if you are watching or listening to this transmission, you are the resistance.